Bonjour classe! Bienvenue à cette semaine dans la classe de français 4 et 5. One of the most requested topics on the survey that I sent out a few weeks ago was the subjunctif. Like, we need to review that. So this week we're going to do just an overview. A lot of things you already know. That's what review is for. And then we'll learn a few new phrases that help to trigger the subjunctif. And then we will do some practice. So let's begin. All right, we're starting with the forms of the subjunctive. First of all, how do you form the subjunctive? And when we have learned this year after year, the first thing we always start with is the il plural form of the verb. Now, you'll notice that this handout that I have here, and which is also posted for you in Google Classroom, says to take the present tense new form. And honestly, the new form and the il plural form will work just as well. But I always like to teach you to use the il plural form because then it's the same. So when you conjugate it in the indicative, the regular present tense, and when you conjugate it in the subjunctive, the il plural form doesn't change. So I kind of like that because it just keeps that piece consistent and easy to remember. So you can think about new, you can think about il plural. Either way, it's going to get you the same results. For example, a regular er verb like rentrer, when you are using it in the subjunctive, you think of the il plural form and then add these endings, e, es, e, ions, iez, ent. Que je rentre, que tu rentres, qu'il, qu'elle rentre, etc. It's important, though, that you do use the il plural form, or the new form, because when you get an ir verb like finir, you'll notice that you're not just dropping the ir. You're actually using this extra iss that comes with that conjugation. So if you think il finisse, which is the regular indicative form, and then drop the ending, the ent, then you get your subjunctif. Que je finisse, que tu finisses, qu'il, qu'elle finisse, etc. It's also important with a regular re verb because you're not just dropping the re necessarily. Well, you kind of are actually, but you have to keep that d. If you're thinking about the indicative form, it's there isn't a de, it's just ss nothing. But here you have to say que je vende, que tu vendes, qu'il vende. Okay, so that's the subjunctive for regular verbs. And of course, they give you a few more details, so you can look at that in your Google Classroom. Here are some commonly used, but also slightly irregular verbs in the subjunctive. I know we've done some things with this one. Que je lise, que tu lises, qu'il lise, n'est-ce pas? Notice boire, venir, and prendre. They have a stem change partway through. So you start off with que je boive, que tu boives, qu'il boive. And see, this is why I have always taught you to use the il plural form, because the il stem is boive, but the new stem is buvions, buviez. So even though this handout is telling you to use new, I feel like il plural is going to get you more what you need for the subjunctive. And then, of course, we have the big five, the ones that are always irregular. Well, venir is right here. It's part of the big five. But aller, avoir, être, vouloir, etc., faire, pouvoir, savoir, we add a few extras in here. We learned these separately because they are so irregular. You don't take the il plural form for these. You just learn those stems. Que j'aille, que tu ailles, qu'il aille. Il faut que tu t'en ailles. Remember that song from French 3? And I think we played it also this year when we did some review. Here's être, que je sois, que tu sois, que nous soyons, que vous soyez, qu'il soit, etc., etc. The only way really to learn these is just keep learning them. Just keep practicing them so that it comes more naturally to you when it's time to use the subjunctive. And so now I'd like to talk about when to use the subjunctive. This is something that is the trickiest part. You can learn these verbs all you want, but if you don't know when to use them, that's going to be tough. So these are what we call triggers for the subjunctive. How do you know when you're supposed to use that versus the indicative? We do have this in our notes from earlier this year, but all of your notebooks are still in the classroom and you have no access to them. So if you want to add this to your notes, you want to write this down somewhere As you work through the practice sheet that you're going to get today, please do so that you have it. So when does one use the subjunctif? You use it if it is a wish. For example, je voudrais que, je souhaite que. You use it when it is an emotion. Je suis triste que, je suis heureuse que, je suis déçue que. Any of those emotions that you feel about the actions of someone. If it's an impossibility, il n'est pas possible que. If it's a request, je demande que. Je veux que tu fasses quelque chose. If there is doubt, je doute que. It's an easy one. And if it's an obligation, and this is the very first phrase we ever learned with the subjunctif, il faut que, or il est nécessaire que, that's when you use the subjunctif. And all of these together spells weirdos. So come on, you weirdos, let's learn the subjunctif. Okay. Keep that in your notes. The handout that I've also provided on Google Classroom gives you a few more phrases. Some of these are new. It talks about imposition of will, and we've talked about this in class. If you're telling someone, you gotta do this, I want you to do this, I demand that you do this, you're still not necessarily going to make them do it. I can tell you, watch my videos, like and subscribe all I want, and you're not necessarily going to do it. It's got to be the subjunctif if there's any kind of doubt or uncertainty. So, when your parents tell you, you need to clean your room, if they were French, they'd be saying that in the subjunctif. When your teachers tell you, you must study for this upcoming exam, if they were French, they'd still have to use the subjunctif because they know full well they can't force you to do it. So that's what the subjunctif is mostly about. Any kind of doubt, any imposition of will, or your personal feelings about what's happening. So they give you a lot of good examples here. Read those in your free time. It will be in Google Classroom for you. Some new and some review right here. These phrases, some of them we've seen, some of them we haven't. So let's just go over those. Aimer mieux que, it's like to like it better, or we'd say to prefer. Attendre que, I'm waiting for something to happen. Avoir besoin que, I need that this happens. Demander que, demand, remember, doesn't mean demand necessarily, it means to ask. Désirer que, empêcher que. Exiger que, j'exige que tu fasses tes devoirs. There's your subjunctif. Ordonner que, there's the one that means I'm ordering you to do something. Permettre que, préférer que, recommander que, souhaiter que, suggérer que, et vouloir que. Je veux que tu sois à l'heure. I want you to be on time, but knowing you, you might not be on time. That's the subjunctif. Here are a few others that are followed by the subjunctif. Il est nécessaire que, il est essentiel que, il est indispensable que. Et the famous one, il faut que. So you know when to use the subjunctif. How about when you don't use the subjunctif? When do you use the indicative? Well, I've got another page for you to show you some of both. So one thing to look at here is these are all expressing doubt. I'm not sure. It's not evident. It's not clear. See, notice these negative phrases are going to trigger the subjunctif because there's doubt. But if you reverse that and made these affirmative phrases, il est certain que, il est sûr que, il est évident que, those would be followed by the indicative, the regular present tense, because in your mind there is no doubt. So that's how you can kind of tell, is it something that is happening? That's the present tense. The present tense just describes what's happening. Or check this out, the indicative indicates what is happening. The subjunctif, though, that's when the doubt comes into play. I'm not sure, it's not clear, don't know if it's happening, if it's going to happen, because of these kinds of expressions. Okay? So look those over, learn some of those. Some you've seen and some are new. And then when you are ready to practice, here is your practice. So these two are having a conversation, and Pierrette always asks, do you know if Stéphanie is arriving today? Tu sais si Stéphane. Tu sais si Stéphane arrivera aujourd'hui? And Jocelyne is just uncertain about everything. Je ne crois pas qu'il arrive aujourd'hui. So the first sentence, that first question, is always going to be the same. And you will conjugate the verb. So here's the verb, and here's the person doing the action. You're going to conjugate that verb in the indicative. But then the response to that, pick one of these phrases up here. Don't use the same one over and over again. Try to learn some new. Use some of these uncertain phrases. I don't know, I'm not sure, it's not clear, it doesn't seem, il ne paraît pas que, I like that one. Use those phrases to say, I don't think Stéphane is arriving. And then you conjugate it in the subjunctive, okay? So the first one, notice we have present tense plus C, so it's going to be I said the indicative, it's the future tense, you guys. Do you know if this will happen? Sorry, use the future tense because it's a C clause. We knew that. But then for the response, use the subjunctive because there's that uncertainty. And this will be in Google Classroom for you to complete their conversations about all their different friends who are doing stuff. All right, that was kind of a quick review, but I hope it gives you enough to kind of remember the subjunctive a little bit, to use it a little bit more, and get some extra practice. And of course, as you go through the work this week and next week, if you have any questions, please feel free to message me, to email me, and let's have a conversation about how your grammar review is going. À bientôt. Au revoir.